Okay, so we're going to transition into more of the hands-on demonstration tonight, where we're going to be talking about ArcGIS Story Maps. And so for those of you who brought laptops and really want to kind of dig into this and have an organizational account, you can go to this link over here. It's a bit.ly link, so it's bit.ly/magic-of-maps, capital M, capital O, capital M. And as you do that, I'm going to talk about kind of how we got to ArcGIS Story Maps. I'm sure there will be lots of questions, so you know, I can take a couple as we go, but afterwards, you know, we'll be here to answer any questions that you have. Great. So just to kind of prime this, I'm going to show you a quick video.
We have almost 750,000 story maps that have been authored in the last 7 years, and that thrills us. We're so excited by the success of story maps. They've become a really natural way for a lot of people to find their voice and to bring their content together, whether it's their maps, their narratives, the photographs, to weave these things together. And I'm really pleased to announce that we've made major changes to Story Maps for 2019, and I'm really excited to be able to show this today. The new builder allows you to mix and match different blocks together to tell your story the way you want to tell it. Previously, you've had to choose one of 8 templates. We had templates like Journal and Cascade, and they've been enormously popular, but what we wanted to do was build one place where you could bring the best of all of those templates together and mix and match and move blocks around and really find the right way to tell your story. Whether it's mostly maps, mostly photographs with a lot of narrative, you can find the right home for that content in the new builder. One of the things that we've heard from folks is they need simple maps. They need to be able to add simple reference maps, locator maps, things that show like a study area or a couple push pins that show where potential site locations are. And you want to be able to click on those push pins and just get a couple basic facts. So what we've built is something called Express Maps, which allow you to author simple maps directly in the builder without having to leave. And we've really streamlined the workflow. If you've made a story, you know one of the most time-consuming things is having to visually harmonize all the elements because you're making things in different places. So you have to remember what fonts you used, what colors you used, what the background color is, how much line spacing, all those little details really take a lot of time to get right. With one-click themes, we take care of this for you. With one-click themes, you can change the tone of your story. Finding the right tone to tell your story, the right visual tone, is a really important part of a narrative. And one-click themes will continue to evolve in the future. One of the things we've heard is that you often need to share your story before you can publish it. You need to show it to your boss, you need to show it to your colleagues, you want their input. I'm really pleased to announce that we've introduced draft mode. And what draft mode allows you to do is to share a story before it's public to get feedback. Even better, we've introduced, once the story is published, the ability to make further edits and decide when you want those edits to go live. So if you want to make edits on a Tuesday but republish the story on a Friday, you can do that now. Mobile first is everything these days. What we know is that most of us consume digital content through our phones. Therefore, as designers, we have to have that in mind. And so with a mobile first approach, we've made sure to do all of the hard work, all the heavy lifting behind the scenes so that you don't have to optimize your photographs and your web maps and all of these other things that are going to be delivered to that device. We do this automatically behind the scenes so that you don't have to worry about it. What it means is that regardless of where your audience is coming from and how they're reaching you, their experience is going to be amazing.
So quick show of hands, how many people have tried out this new ArcGIS Story Maps? No blue raster hands, you guys have. Okay, cool. Okay, so we're going to jump into all things ArcGIS Story Maps. Great. So as we think about this transition, so we've mentioned that Story Maps has been around for 8 years. We've got all these different templates that have been built. Why are we all of a sudden creating a new product? So here's the reasons. First, we want to create a unified builder experience. So over these last 8 years, people have given us tons of feedback about which template should I choose? How do I get started? Should I do the journal? Should I do the series? Which one makes sense? And what we've done is we've kind of taken all of those classic templates and made them into one. So it's going to be a unified builder where you can create your own customized combination of those different features, whether it's the cascade scroll and immersive sections, or whether it's series and you have different bits of content. Second, we've refined the look. Over 8 years, you can tell a big difference between the cascade template and some of the earlier templates. So we've got a better design that's fitting with kind of the industry. Second or third, there's this new feature called Express Maps, and I'll be talking a lot about Express Maps. So we want to make it really easy for people to quickly create maps with just a few clicks. You don't have to, be a GIS professional. If you have no GIS experience, you should be able to make a map. And a lot of the times, the maps that we need for these stories just have a couple of points on them or have a couple lines. And you shouldn't have to go through a really arduous process to be able to incorporate those into your story. So Express Maps is this new map-making tool that's incorporated right into the builder. Next, we have publishing workflows that are a lot more streamlined. Things like autosave have been incorporated in. So no longer do you have to keep pressing on that blue button to make sure that you don't lose your content if you close out. You can also publish, within your organization. You can publish it, make it public, and you can go back and, see unpublished changes. So it can make your workflow much more streamlined. And lastly, and maybe most importantly, it's very mobile friendly. It takes a mobile-first design, which matches industry standards for these kind of storytelling tools, and really allows people who are making stories that are meant to be read by everyone more accessible. And just so that you know, the roadmap for kind of this transition between the classic story maps and classic Esri story maps and ArcGIS story maps. So in July at the user conference, we will be launching the full version of ArcGIS story maps. This will be kind of the first iteration of ArcGIS story maps. So this will have a variety of features. It won't have all the features of all the templates, but it will have many of the favorite ones from Cascade, and will be on a production cycle where new features are being incorporated all the time. That doesn't mean that the classic apps are going away. For the next year, it'll be as if nothing has happened. You'll be able to create new story maps. You'll be able to edit old story maps. In future 2020, 2021, there will be transitioned into extended support, which means that you can continue to edit any of your content and make edits to those, and then later on it will be moved into mature support, and then it'll be retired. And so that's 5 years out when kind of that timeline's coming. Great.
When it's retired, you'll still be able to see all your content.
You
just will not be able to read it.
That's right. So just to really dive into it, what I want to show for the next 15, 20 minutes or so is a live demonstration of this ArcGIS Story Maps. And so this demo is designed for, if you really are excited, maybe have some experience already, you can go and download some demo content. This has text and photos. If you don't have the time now to do it, you can also copy this link and do it at another time. So to get started, you'll go to that link, download the content, and then we'll get started.
Rob, real quick, the link is actually case sensitive.
The link is case sensitive, which I'm sorry about that. Capital M, capital O, capital M. Oh. So when you download that content, there's going to be a document that has instructions. And what you're going to do is you're going to take this link, paste it in your browser, and this will bring you to the Story Maps landing page. I'll say down. Okay, so for those of you who haven't seen this yet, I am not in the right position for this. Okay, so for those of you who haven't seen this yet, this is really the landing page for the ArcGIS Story Maps page. And it might look familiar in terms of having some of those tabs that we've seen in the past. So things like My Stories, things like Learn, Sign In. So you can click Get Started. And here you'll log in with your credentials. So right now you have to have an organizational account to try out the beta. So I should just back up for a second and say, right now this is an incomplete product. Right now it is in beta form. So what that means is it's gone through an alpha testing. It has a lot of features already incorporated, but it is not completed yet. So in July, the completed version will be released to the public. And so right now people are creating stories, people are publishing them, sharing them. It's been really exciting to see the new content coming in and being shared, particularly with the end of semesters. A lot of students have been trying this out and publishing their final projects in ArcGIS Story Maps. Okay, so when you log in with your credentials, you get to your My Stories page. What I'm gonna do is just make this a little smaller so that you can see where we are on the in the Word document for those of you who are following along. So we've just gotten through this first part. So now to create a new story, it's pretty intuitive. Click Create a New Story. And immediately you get to see the new builder experience. And so within the builder, you can see we've got this, you add your title, your subtitle. We've got an indication whether it's been saved or not. We've got this design, a preview, publish. So, we can go ahead and start by adding a little bit of content in here. So let's just add a title. And a subtitle. Oh, gosh, this is gonna... And this is a story about some project that I did in Guatemala in 2017. I was part of this expedition that went up to monitor an active volcano in Quetzaltenango region. So this is just content that was also made into one of the first stories in ArcGIS Story Maps. If you have questions about that, we can talk about it afterwards. So I want to show you first this design panel. This is a new feature that we're really excited about. Essentially, within this design panel, you have options for kind of really tailoring your story to have the look and feel that you want it to, depending on the story you're trying to tell. So with one click, you're able to change how it looks. And this gets to the question about templates in the future. So as the product continues to develop, new templates will be one of the features to look for. So there's going to be an outdoor theme that's coming. There's going to be a antique theme that's coming, and a variety of others that will be built out into the future. And we're talking about ways to customize templates for your own stories as an account holder. Okay, so with one click, you can change the cover layout. You can change the color of the background. And then you can perform theme overrides down here. So say you want to have a color that maybe matches the feel of your story more. So say you have a lot of, photos that have, bright red colors in them, or bright iconography that you want to match. You can just quickly change that, and it will change a variety of features within your story. So for this demo, we'll go with the minimal cover layout and the summit theme. If you're following along, feel free to explore and try out different ways of doing it. So next we've got the byline. Within the byline, you can change this to be maybe it's a collaborative project with your organization. So you want to have your organizational name, or you want to have 2 or 3 authors on there, or you don't want to have an author at all. You can take that off completely. So right now I'll just put my name. And the next feature to note is this content block. So we mentioned that there's going to be this combination of all the different templates. This is how you access those different functionalities. So things like immersive sections. You'll be able to go and press that plus button and add a different type of content. So already you can see some of the features in the beta version, anything from text to you can add buttons, images, videos, maps, and sidecar. Right now, let's go ahead and add a map. And so when you click create a map, you get this panel that allows you to add maps from your organization, from Living Atlas, and it works right within the ArcGIS Online ecosystem. So if you create a custom map with data maybe related to conservation areas in the District of Columbia, then that will show up in your organizational account, and you can just add those directly. But what I want to show you right now is Express Maps. So like I mentioned, Express Maps is this really quick and easy way to create maps that have different features on them with these drawing tools. These drawing tools include points, numbered points, lines, areas, so say you wanted to really emphasize a certain area that goes with your story, you can do that. You can move it around, or you can just toss it out. You can also add text annotations. And you can even add leader lines coming off of those. So that can quickly provide context for your story. Just a quick drag and drop feature can be really helpful. And we're just going to toss this out. Because we don't actually want to do that for this story. So for this story, again, if you're following along, we're going to go into the search panel and search for Quetzaltenango. Because what we want to do is create a locator map that provides context and sets the stage for the story. So here we've searched for this point. We're going to add this point. And I'm going to zoom in to an extent that makes sense for giving people an overview of where we are and where this story is taking place. Within the Express Map panel, you can add titles to your points. You can also add descriptions. And if you're following along, we're at the step where we add a photo directly in. Where is this? Cool. Okay, then click done, and let's see what we just did. So now you've created a point with a description, a title, a custom image at an extent that fits your story. So when you're happy with this, you can click place map. But for right now, I'm actually going to take off this legend because it doesn't really add anything to the map design to have a legend that says points, right? So it's pretty intuitive. So you're going to click place map, and there it is. In 45 seconds, you've got a custom map with a point that has an image that provides context for your readers. And if you want to make edits to it, for instance, I don't really like how it's centering, so I'm going to move it that way. It's better. I'm a little bit anal about this, but so there you have it. That's Express Maps in 45 seconds. There's a lot more that you can do with arrows, the drawing tools that I would definitely suggest exploring. But because we don't have as much time, I'm just going to keep going. So now I'm going to add some text. And so down here, you'll see this plus button again, and I'm going to add this as paragraph text. And I've got some extra spaces that I don't want. One exciting feature too is being able to change the size of your pieces of media content. So you can, the default is small, you can make it medium, you can make it full width. So if you had a really detailed Express Map with lots of annotations that you wanted your readers to really dig into and explore, you could make it full width. Or you can do something called float. And what float does is it allows you to have your media on the left and your text to your right. Before, you would have had to do a lot of customization of the code to be able to do this. And so we're really excited to offer this feature in the new version. Okay, let's see how we're doing. So this story is about a journey. And so what we're going to do now is add a little bit more text. I want this to be on a new line, so I'm just going to add a couple of spaces. And so that formatting that I just provided was a header formatting. So you're able to have different visual looks to your text really quickly and easily. So, as a reader is going through this, their eye will be drawn to this, and it will kind of help carry the narrative forward. Okay, so the next bit of content we're going to show is Sidecar. So with Sidecar, this is most similar to the immersive creating an immersive section in the Cascade template. And so this is just to remind people, it's where you have text that scrolls on the left and a static or piece of media on the right. So I grabbed that text. Maybe I actually want this to be like, do a subheader. I'll add this to one. And then okay, cool. So as we scroll down, you can see that the image is sticky, and this bit of content on the left stays there. So one thing that's coming really soon, I've gotten a couple questions about new features that are going to be incorporated for those of you who have been playing with this a little bit. And so in the immersive section, you're able to have a variety of images or different pieces of content stacked up. And I'm happy to say that at the end of the month or early June, in the beta plus release, little caveat there, fingers crossed, but there will be that functionality. So you'll be able to have multiple images. And so that will be a feature that's, already incorporated in. So it'll be even closer to the Cascade template. Okay, so there's a couple more things I want to show. And then we can move on from there. So I'm going to insert an infographic and show again how we can resize these. So maybe you want it to be, full width, or maybe you want it to be medium. Let's add some more text. So you can already see the story starting to take shape. And really the goal of this is to show the different functionalities. And so I'll end with a image that would sort of tee up the rest of the story. Let's make that full width. Okay, so just to recap, what we've gone through is we've seen this design panel. The design panel has different layouts. You can, with one click, change the whole theme of the story, and so you can tell that it has a different feel when you change this right away. So notice how the color changes, the accent color changes, and the look and feel of the fonts change as well. Let's go back. We also have discussed the various block types. So the block types include things like text styling. We've added images and we've resized those images. We've done sidecar and maps. Video is, you're able to incorporate video right into your story really easily. And, the last feature maybe that I'll show is this element that's a button. The button makes it really easy to, at the end of your story, the readers often want to have, an action to take. So if they've just learned about some compelling work that you're doing and maybe want to go see that data set, or they want to donate to your organization, you can create a button, say learn more, and then let's do So you can just put in the URL for the where you want it to link to really easily. So another element I want to talk about is the publishing workflow. So once you're done with your story, or you have a draft that you want to share with a colleague or a collaborator, you can see right now it's in this draft mode. You can see that it's been saving. So you can preview your story. So this is the preview of it. And you can see kind of, you can test out things like the button. I didn't do the URL right, but if you want to go back and edit it, you can do that. And then in here, you can press publish and then share it with your organization or share it publicly. For right now, I'll just share it with my organization, publish story. And it goes through and checks all your linked content. So say you have a custom scene that you haven't actually made publicly available, it will ask you whether you want to do that or not. Same with data visualization. So if you have sensitive data that you don't want to share out until it's maybe published, this is a good way of safeguarding against data going out. Okay, so we've just published the story. So say I wanted to go in and make an edit. You just go back to edit story. You go here. And then say you're done, or say you wanted to change, a bit of text, take that out. You can see unpublished changes has happened. Now, if you do a bunch of edits and you're like, oh, I wish I hadn't done that. You can go up here to these three buttons and say, discard unpublished changes. And what this does is it's kind of a check, a safeguard. Whereas before you might have had to redo a lot of work to get that back. And so you can see that this sentence is back in there now. So now you can again, it's been published, and but say you wanted to change your publishing settings and make it available to everyone, you could do that here and go back and forth really quickly. And so if you want to make it public, but then you find out there's an issue in it, you can take it offline really quickly. Another feature that's really exciting is within your, so when you want to share it out to social media, you can just copy this URL and put it into Facebook or Twitter, and the social cards will be created automatically. So you'll get that image, you'll get that description, and that comes directly from your story. And so for those of you who have been using a workflow that tries to optimize for social media, this should save a lot of time for you guys. Let's see, with that, a couple things to note. There's FAQs, there's ways to learn more about the beta. So GeoNet is really where all of the documentation and resources are for learning about this transition, learning about the product, and kind of getting more experience with it. So at this point, what I'm going to do is go back to my slide deck to just describe a couple things that might be of interest. One question earlier was about what's coming next. This is for that question. So features that are coming soon are all up here. So if you're wondering about some of the functionalities and workflows that you used to do, know that we're listening, and that these are the ones that we're prioritizing. If you see something up there that you're like, I wish that this feature was going to be incorporated a lot sooner, that's where sending us feedback really comes in, because what's happening now is it's a really exciting stage because the developers are writing the tool, creating the tool, and so if there's a feature that a lot of people want, it'll get incorporated sooner than later. Okay, I'm gonna keep moving. Next, a really exciting initiative that was just launched recently is called Skill for Good. And what this is a way to connect organizations that maybe don't have as much capacity internally or want to have volunteer work with people who want to volunteer their time. And so there's a simple sign-up sheet to kind of put down your information, whether you're an organization or an actual volunteer. And then a group called Democracy Labs will match you up. And then you'll be connected with individuals that are willing to help you out with various projects, all related to story maps. So Skill for Good, check it out. We're excited to see how this grows and how we can serve progressive organizations, groups that are trying to tell really compelling stories but maybe don't have as much capacity internally as they'd like. Okay, just a couple more slides. I wanted to kind of end with some resources that might be really helpful. There we go. So these are some resources to check out. So things like our monthly newsletter. So it's called Planet Story Maps. How many people have heard of Planet Story Maps? How many people have had their content featured on Planet Story Maps? One. Okay, so we have a newsletter that goes out monthly, and it's a great way to get your stories out and to learn about what's coming with story maps. So I suggest you all follow this link, sign up today, and also get in touch with us whenever you have a new story map that's being created, because we can help promote your work and feature it on here. So we often have 3 to 5 story maps on there, but also a lot of blog content, documentation, news and updates, new initiatives that are happening. So definitely it's worth your time. If it becomes something that you don't want to subscribe to, you can always unsubscribe, but definitely check it out. In terms of trying the new ArcGIS Story Maps, this is the link for that. Definitely give it a go. Know that it's in beta form, but the beta is stable. Your content will be up there, and you can start experimenting with the builder and give us feedback. That's one of the biggest takeaways from this is we're listening, and we love to hear how you're using story maps, how we can improve the product, and what features you'd like to see.